And we're live. GM, everybody. Happy hackathon. My name is Kevin Montgomery. I'm an events manager here at Chainlink Labs. And if you want to kickstart your Web3 career, this is where you want to be. We will provide you with tips and tricks and help you on landing a job within the space. And joining me firsthand here is the lovely Myra De Luna. Thank you so much for coming on. She's going to go over a little bit more about what it's like as a Chainlink Labs recruiter and what teams are looking for firsthand when hiring. So without further ado, Myra, please take it away.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for that awesome intro. And hello again, Constellation hackers. I'm really excited to be here with y'all today and telling y'all a bit about, what it's like from the TA perspective or talent acquisitions perspective here at Chainlink Labs. So without further ado, some of y'all might already know me from previous hackathons or just, conversations throughout a process. But my name is Myra. I oversee and I'm the lead non-technical recruiter. So you've probably seen me mostly going through, go-to-market, marketing, through sometimes product and various other departments here at Chainlink. So today, as Kevin said, I'm going to teach y'all about what it is like as a Chainlink recruiter and what are some of the things that we look for. So I figured we would start off with, getting y'all to think a bit like a recruiter. What are some of the fundamental things that we look for? How do we look for them? And how can you, most importantly, advertise yourself, or basically, I call it improving your personal SEO score on things like LinkedIn, Indeed, or just your overall CVs and resumes. So just to start, to tell y'all a bit about a secret that every single person in any talent acquisitions role probably knows about is Boolean searches. So Boolean searches are universal searches that you can plug into Google, you can plug them into LinkedIn, you can plug them into pretty much any search bar, and it can pull up whatever it is to need. So what you'll do is you'll use keys that are a set of roles that are similar to these, quotations, parentheses, and or not, to basically set the roles of what you're looking for in a search. So you might kind of sandwich in things like I'm, looking for data feeds or real-time streamings, or some of the examples we'll see later on, in order to pull up the keywords that we think are going to be most relevant for a job. Usually what we'll do is we'll take a job description, we'll pull some of these keywords or similar words to them, like blockchain or Web3 or DLT or decentralized, stuff like that. And then we use those and we basically will plug them together to create a string of a formula, put it in a search bar, and then that's how we go looking for the amazing talent that we end up finding. So let's tie this into Chainlink specifically. So let's say that you're looking to join, our specific teams to help support a specific Chainlink product or service. And let's talk about some of the things that we might look for each one of those. So for data feeds, as many of you know, this is how we're going to bring data on chain, right? So first and foremost, what we're going to look for is experience with data feeds, because it's not new to technology. It might be something we've kind of, helped bring to Web3, but it's been around for a while. So data feeds, real-time streaming, high-frequency trading, or HFTs, low latency, those could also be used to also add on to data streams and not just data feeds. Now, if you're looking for something more like joining the team that's going to help support functions or any API, but previously, round one, some of those words that we might be looking for are serverless, developer-facing services, developer services, APIs, SDKs, sandboxing, those types of things that you can see correlated. Also, we might take some of the products that you see, you might know in Web 2, and add those as also potential filler words in case you have experience building with those. Now, if you're looking to join CCIP, highly anticipated, finally here, there are a few different routes we go here, right? CCIP is all about messaging. So first and foremost, kind of that's the foundation there. But when we're looking at, the cross-chain bridging, some of those things that you might find are cross-chain or multi-chain or omni-chain or just bridge. You might see this asterisk here. That might change things a little bit, just because that will allow me to find words that might say bridge or bridging, and not just leave it stuck to one specific, I guess, type of way to type it. Interoperability, of course, just like the I, taking the I out of CCIP, something that we're going to look for there as well. Now, let's talk a little bit more if you know the type of role that you would be good for, but you might not be exactly sure what service that you would be a good fit for. And or maybe you're looking to just do something if you're not sure Chainlink has that service or is supporting that vertical big enough yet. Now, starting with product management, one thing that is going to be absolutely pivotal that you're going to want to be able to market yourself in both, honestly, your CV, your LinkedIn, or in an interview is some sort of indication that you have led a product from 0 to 1. One thing about Chainlink is that the hiring bar is going to be high, as some of you might know or might find out. So you really want to be able to talk about the biggest impacts you've had and how you've had those impacts and maybe what those products, like what that success was like. So first and foremost, something that's going to indicate that you have launched a product 0 to 1. You could blatantly just put launched X 0 to 1, or from launch to, additions or whatever that is. And then also one thing that we're going to want to know again, and if you can market this in your LinkedIn CV or in interviews, want to know where the product was whenever you onboarded into the role and where it was whenever you left in the role. These are things you could include in the summaries sections or those bullet points that you might have in LinkedIn or in your CV. But this is definitely going to be a question that comes up whenever you're interviewing. And then most importantly, I want to know about the product's impact that you had. So us talking about CCIP, if you were our very own role and you were our product manager for CCIP, I want to hear you talk about how you led a very impactful cross-chain interoperability protocol and helped onboard massive institutions into Web3 by doing so. That is a huge statement. And of course, that is radically big, but I want to hear how awesome the product did. I want to hear what your role was, and most importantly, how you helped the company succeed. Now, if we're going to look more on the program side or the process delivery side, into a TPM or a technical program manager type role, I'm going to be focused on delivery, processes, and critical thinking, and more so like stuff like that. And so, of course, as I see it here, delivery, delivery, delivery. I want to know what you delivered. I want to know how you kept things on track, even though you experienced big blockers. I want to know how you had to really, really practice and really put your critical thinking skills to the test in order to see that your program was going to be successful. And then secondly, there obviously is going to go with organization skills. Your processes and your organizational skills are going to impact the delivery, right? It's going to butterfly affect it in there. If you're organized, if you have the right thought processes going, if you're setting up proper processes, it's going to show in your delivery. But I want to see that there as a second underlying factor. Another thing I always will say, it is very crucial to be able to speak both nerd and English. What I mean by that, when you're a TPM, and same thing, honestly, with product managers, you are a liaison between non-technical teams, between technical people. You have to speak what I call both nerd and English, because of the fact that the language that you might be using with your engineers to a technical capacity is going to be very different whenever you're talking to somebody from more of the business side. So being able to navigate both of those conversations with thoughtfulness and with productivity is going to be absolutely crucial. Now, taking a little bit of a pivot into the finance side of the house, I'm leaving this one a little bit more broad because finance is very much going to depend on what you're applying for, right? One thing that I will say just overall that you can see as a consensus is that we love to hear about how people who are joining into finance have explored, DeFi or just interacted on chain. And I'll also even kind of step out a little bit and say, this is also something we're going to look for and that we'd absolutely love to hear no matter what role you're applying to, right? anytime that you have an opportunity to display your passion for blockchain or to talk about your experiences on chain and how you've kind of played around, even if it's been to an unprofessional capacity, we love it, because a lot of us and a lot of people who are going to be interviewing you, we're all blockchain nerds. We love this stuff. That's why we do it for a living. So it gets us excited, and even more so, it gets us excited when we see that the people we're interviewing and the people that want to join Chainlink also resonate and also get really excited about this world. So listed some of the options here that you can talk about, anything with EVMs, Ethereum, side chains, L2s, bridging. I'm up again. Even if it's NFTs, LSTs, ZKs, anything and everything under the on-chain sign, we want to hear about it. We want to know how you've interacted there. Now, on the engineering side, a little bit more pivot back here. So when it comes to our engineering roles, again, these are going to vary. So I would definitely recommend to look at the skills and qualifications for each one, right? Depending on what team, depending on what service, these can definitely vary. But I will say overall, Chainlink tends to be quite open on, what language somebody might have experience in. Many of you that are developers also know that once you learn one, it's going to be easier, not quite easy, always easy, but it's going to be easier to learn more. So if you see something in a skills and qualifications section of a software engineering role that you might be interested, that maybe you don't have experience in, maybe you have been a Java developer your whole life and you really want to get into Solidity, and that's one of the reasons why you want to roll here, well, I definitely recommend taking, a Solidity boot camp. You can go on YouTube, maybe see some of Patrick Collins' stuff under Chainlink. Chainlink has a lot of docs itself, but then there's a lot of resources. Whether you're going to, like I said, YouTube, if you're doing Udemy courses, there's tons out there that you can definitely find and leverage. Other things to look that we might look for is P2P or peer-to-peer. This is one of those things that we'll highlight a little bit later on, but things that are transferable from Web 2 to Web 3. There's tons of other projects out in Web 2 or companies in Web 2 that are peer-to-peer. So having that type of experience will also be great here. But as mentioned, it's going to definitely depend on what team and what verticals you are trying to build in. So whether you're going for a products related role, infrastructure, infosec, or SREs, I definitely, would recommend specifically looking at that JD that you might have a role that you might be interested in, and then making sure that your CVs and that your LinkedIn's or whatever you're submitting match and put your best foot forward as best as possible to that respective role. Now, again, so I've listed here a couple of the teams that are hiring on the SRE side. Definitely, these are subject to change at any moment. So in case you're looking to join Node Ops, Eng Ops, product reliability, or core reliability, those are options at this very moment that you can go check online. Now, if you're looking on the blockchain integration side, again, we have tons of roles. One thing about us is we are always going to be hiring engineers. During a bull, during a bear, you're always going to see a ton of eng openings. So for a blockchain integrations team specifically, you might see things like Golang that are going to be very important to us. Blockchain interests, of course, like I said, put your best foot forward when it comes to that. Let's talk about the things that excite you. And then 3 more years of professional experience and microservice. One thing I will say, if you find yourself not exactly meeting the years of experience we're looking for, but you hit everything else, you have the experience in blockchain, reach out to someone on LinkedIn that you think could support those. A lot of us will, and by us, I mean recruiters, will put on LinkedIn what verticals we support. If you go to mine, you'll see that I have listed there the different departments that I support. And you can reach out to that recruiter and say, what exactly is your circumstance, and then move forward from there. Another thing might not be listed right now, but depending on what time of year you're looking for a role, you might see internship opportunities. So if you are a hacker from a university, definitely keep an eye out on that. Talk to, if you are a part of a blockchain organization on campus, talk to your presidents, talk to your point of contacts that usually manage the relationships with the companies and organizations, because we always do have opportunities, and we'd love to pull pull some of the people who have been in hackathons or maybe just involved on campus. Now, a long anticipated time, go-to-market is hiring again. So for those of you who are non-technical, those of you like looking for a career in sales, your time is here. So one of the roles that I just opened this yesterday by chance is a Chainlink evangelist. If you're not familiar with what a Chainlink evangelist is, those are going to be our closing salespeople. They're dealing with high volume. Those, sometimes you might hear those referred to as other companies as account executives. That would be our equivalent here. So the things that we would look for in a closing sales individual would be, of course, that blockchain passion, always 10 out of 10. Most importantly, also having the knowledge within the different verticals. I want to hear you talk about ZKs and infrastructure 1 minute, and then talk about RWAs the next minute, and just keep on going down, different rabbit holes. The more, like, as y'all know, Chainlink is essentially an index, right? We're blockchain agnostic. We cover tons of different verticals. So the more of those verticals that you feel like you can know about and that you can speak to, the better, because there's definitely options for a lot of different things to cover here. One thing that we are going to stress also for this role is having 4 years of experience in a closing sales role. So what we mean by that is being the salesperson that was dealing with the closing, like of, those contracts and whatnot. If you are somebody who might be a little bit junior and you're like, well, Myra, I have sales experience, but I usually worked with the account executives, you're going to see job titles like Chainlink analyst. Sometimes you might see a simply put SDR or sales development representative. At this time, I don't have any of those openings, but we are in what you call ABR season, and 2024 is right across the corner. So it is likely that we'll have more headcount in the upcoming future, although I cannot say exactly when that would be. Also, that being said, going back, if you are somebody who's more on the partnership side, I do not have this listed here, but if you are someone who's more on the partnership side and you are more accustomed or prefer to deal with longer scale deals, maybe not as high volume, a little bit more strategic, you are going to see things like growth manager or simply roles listed with partnerships in the title. I would highly recommend, applying to those as well. Although you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to direct you to some of the jobs that might be better suited for you. Now, remember, as mentioned earlier, your Web2 experiences are very transferable. Those skills very much are needed in Web3, although some of them, depending on what they are, might be a little bit altered once you bring on-chain. They're still very important, right? We're still very early on in this industry, so a lot of the talent pool we're going to be pulling is going to be from comparable companies in Web2. So if you find yourself having experiences that you might not think will match up 100%, but could at least have some of that transferable there, definitely leverage that, right? I don't know if y'all how many of y'all live in crypto Twitter, but I always think of that trend where when people were posting all the time, Web2 me versus Web3 me. There is so much there that can transferable. Me, for example, I used to work at AWS. So I worked with a lot of web services previously. And even though those weren't like something that was on chain, when I came on chain, I still knew a lot of the terminology and a lot of things that really kind of were comparable there. Now, for the fun part, I say sarcastically. No, I'm kidding, y'all. Tips for applying, right? Let's take all of these tips. Let's bring them to action. Let's go ahead and put you forward for the job. First off, I will say only apply to a role if you meet the requirements listed. On Chainlink's job board, you're going to find job postings that say either required qualifications, just requirements, or something of that sort. I would say make sure that you hit each one of those bullet points, because in the third section that you'll see where it might say something like preferred requirements or preferred qualification, those are the bullet points, or those are the skill sets that we are a little bit more flexible on. So the higher on the list you also see things in the requirements section, the more important they're going to be. So make sure you hit those bullet points. Like I was saying earlier, if you think that maybe you are lacking from years of experience or just a little bit, reach out, find the recruiter, reach out to us on LinkedIn. I promise you, you're helping us do our job by reaching out to us, because then we don't have to go out and look for you. The second thing here, take your time on your application, guys. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Whenever we are going through applications, especially on the non-technical side, I'm navigating hundreds to thousands of applications a week. I'm not kidding about that, a week. So whenever you like are looking at the same thing, same, but different, hundreds to thousands of times every week, you want to see things that are going to stick out, right? I want to see things. Take it back to the blockchain passion. Again, I can't say it enough. That'll be our phrase or word of the workshop. Blockchain passion. Let me see it. Let's talk about, your hackathon projects, how you like, what was your role in them and how successful y'all were, or what interested you. We're always going to have bullet points so you can talk about, what blockchain experience you have professionally or personally, or what interests you. Definitely take advantage of that and be thoughtful in those responses. We love to see it. We love to see the what. We love to see the determination and dedication when we're reviewing these apps. And then if there's an opportunity for a cover letter or for you to talk about your interest in the projects, like I said, most of our openings will give you the space to do so. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about how you really got interested in blockchain when you were discovering the tokenization of real world assets, or when you learned about, the financial equity that crypto could bring to maybe a home country or your like an underrepresented community. Then moving forward from there, with the application questions, answer them truthfully. If you find yourself responding to a required question about, I don't know, let's say you're applying to a capital markets role and you have a question that's asking about your experience. If you have experience in TradFi, let's say if it's yes, I want to know what that experience was. On the inverse, I will say, if you find yourself looking at a question like that, that's yes or no, and you're marking no, chances are that the role is not going to be a fit. So let's look at ways that we can build those experiences. But at the end of the day, it's all about differentiating yourself. As I mentioned, we're going through hundreds, potentially thousands of applicants a week for roles. So the more you can set yourself apart, the better. Now, looking more inwards to Chainlink, something that we value a lot, and if you're ever in an interview process with Sergey, he will definitely bring these up as well. We really do live and breathe by these, is our key operating principles, often referred to as KOPs. So if you're in the interview process at Chainlink, you're always going to receive a one-pager that is going to list out our key operating principles, so that way you can go back and reference them over and over again if you're like me and have a forgetful mind. But to go through these individually for, like I said, Chainlink. And I will also kind of step out a bit and say, even if you're applying to a different project or a different company out there, every company is going to have key operating principles. So ask, if you can't find them online, go ahead and ask your recruiter, hey, what are your key operating principles here? How can I set myself apart? Because interviewers are always going to look for these underlying characteristics of you showing, for example, ownership or focus whenever they're talking to you, because they want to see, part of your interviewing is seeing that you can embody these key operating principles. So here at Chainlink, we have 3, starting with true ownership, prioritize focus, and constructive dialogue. So we're talking about ownership. This, fits really well with, not your keys, not your wallet. I'm kidding. But this is something that is going to be important. We're still a startup. We're a later stage startup, but we're still a little startup. So you're going to be wearing a lot of hats when you come into this team. So it's going to be increasingly important for you to be able to take what's needed and take responsibility for it, and really do what you need to make sure that you have the right outcomes and that you're applying the best standards there. Next is, there's a lot to do around here. There is a lot going on in the space outside the company as well. So if you are seeing that there's a lot going on, it's going to be very important for you to be able to kind of zoom in and know what you need to focus on, right? There's a lot of noise everywhere else. So to be able to have that tunnel vision on putting your energy towards what is important is going to be very important as well. Thirdly, constructive dialogue. Chainlink we're all doing this for the first time, or we're all very new at what's going on, right? It's a new space, as mentioned. There's going to be naturally a lot of trial and error. There's going to be a lot of what's going to work for us, what's going to scale, et cetera, et cetera. So it's important to be able to have those conversations, whether it's with your peers, your manager, or maybe somebody that reports into you, to be able to have that space where you feel like you can come and say, hey, you know what? I'm not sure if that's the best process. I feel like we might have a better outcome if we do XYZ. That is going, well, first of all, it takes a lot of guts to say that. Second of all, that is what's going to help us stay on top and help us succeed. So I cannot stress enough how important constructive dialogue is. Now, any of you who have ever had a call with me, y'all know I live and breathe by the STAR method. Whether you're my sister, whether you're a stranger, if anyone ever asks me what they should do or what's the number one tip that I would give them when interviewing, it's to prepare and follow the STAR method. So if you're new to the STAR method, it stands for situation, task, action, and result. So, what you can do, and what I always recommend to do, whenever you're applying and whenever you're getting ready to interview, take the job description, all of those bullet points or all those major points that you see that stick out to you as important, put those into a Google Doc or write them in a journal, whatever works best for you, and split them up as if they were short answer prompts, and basically kind of create yourself a section where you can write about what was the situation, what was the task, what was the action you took, and what was the result. Write talking points out just like that, and the more you go over them in your head, the more subconsciously your mind's going to be glued to them. So whenever you're nervous, whenever maybe you're given a curveball in an interview, or that adrenaline's just going crazy, your brain will subconsciously will at least have a higher chance of bringing that back and putting out the information there that is going to be of most value for you, right? As I mentioned before, we always want to know about your impact. We always want to know about what your role was and how you overcame things. So this is going to be the perfect way to put that information forward. Now, for those of you who are hacking and who are on the engineering side of that, if you're looking to go into an opportunity on our DevRel team, which, by the way, I did not list it, but I do have one opening. So if you are interested in a developer advocate role, please feel free to, go to our job site and apply for that. But if you feel that maybe you don't meet those qualifications, you have the perfect program to join. So recently, we started what was called the Developer Experts Program. So similar to the community advocates, this is going to be the more technical side. They are going to be the right hand to our DevRel team whenever our DevRel team cannot be there, or even when they just need support and are there. So these are going to have some great benefits. It's going to put you at the top of Chainlink's list whenever it comes to applying. And it's going to help you know if you like to travel, if you like to go to conferences, if you love to teach people in workshops and hackathons and stuff like that. This is a great, great program to join. I'm sure y'all are going to have, more workshops, if not already, with Harry and the rest of our DevRel team. Definitely leverage them and, join this new program. You can get certified in teaching workshops in our different verticals or the different services, and then go out into the community and, spread the word and help onboard new developers yourselves. Now, if you are not maybe the most technical person, and that's probably not under your area of expertise or in your wheelhouse, we can look to the more non-technical side of the house at our community advocate program. If you have not already, also, Romaine would be a good point of contact for that, who might have a workshop as well doing this hackathon. But they're going to be, people who are going to help us get meetups together, maybe go to conferences, and really just kind of educate the community on, what Chainlink Labs is doing and just overall, blockchain and smart contract technology. And again, these QR codes will lead you to a page where you can apply if you are interested. Now, lastly, before I open this up to a Q&A, I'd love to remind you all that all of you have the single most important thing we're looking for. Once again, I'm a broken record. It's the blockchain passion. and excitement for what you're doing, or what we're doing here at Chainlink Labs. I always say, whenever you're interviewing, whenever you're applying and you're on the job search, you got to kind of play chess, not checkers, right? You got to get strategic with it. You got to know what your end goal is. But at the end of the day, the blockchain passion is something that is going to be something that we are going to value so much more than anything. So you'll have the tools. So it's time to, pull out the chessboard or, a Chainlink cube and start playing, chess instead of checkers. And lastly, actually, one more thing. All of you in the you Constellation hackers, y'all are in a great spot here. Y'all are going to have really good marketing tool for yourselves. And with your projects, always plug them in. First of all, Chainlink will definitely, take an attendees list or project submittal list, and we will look at, who's maybe winning awards or whatnot. But things always happen. Sometimes there's great talent there that maybe for one reason or another didn't get to submit a project or something fell off. But if you have these projects, we want to see them. Whether you're going to put them in your resume, which if you do, I recommend that you have a section that's going to be listed as community experience or blockchain experience or something like that, where you can put in maybe courses you've taken. You can, at the very top, I would put hackathon projects, especially if you won something, but even if you didn't, because I think it's always great to list that. Secondly, applications. Even if you don't have in your application a sections like have you been a part of a hackathon or something like that? Shameless plug, put it in there. Put it in there and just put, hi, I was, a Constellation hacker fall 2023 or whatever it is, and drop the link. We love to see it. Also, another option is cover letters if you use that. And then in your LinkedIn profiles, in the summary section, that is your time to shine in terms of what excites you, what you do, and what you're looking for. If you have projects that you're really proud of, you should 1000% be listing those in the summaries. So that way, when we go and look at your profile, we can click on it and then we can be impressed, or we can have fun just kind of diving in on whatever your project was. And with that being said, if you're interested in looking at what other opportunities I may not have talked about today, or what opportunities might be upcoming at Chainlink Labs, I definitely urge y'all to scan this QR code and bookmark it, whatever it is. Put a notification on LinkedIn for when we post jobs. But keep an eye on this website, as this is going to be our job board, and all of our openings will be listed there. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and open it up for a Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Myra. It was awesome having these insights. Gosh, there's a lot of great stuff in here. Looking like we had a few questions from before when you had your slides open. You had mentioned specifically some languages. So Spiel Crypto asked, why C++ when you can write in Rust? Or was Rust just left off of this slide?
I think that Rust would definitely also be included. I was making this pretty quickly. So C++ is something, I guess, a little bit more traditional. But if you have Rust, by all means, go for it. Like I said, we're pretty agnostic in terms of the languages we look for. Of course, there might be teams, might be services where they might need a little bit more expertise in one specific language. But overall, we're pretty open.
Heck yeah. And then Miro asked about volunteer. I know we went more into that about the developer advocates and experts. Yeah, so I think that was covered here. But then Michael ended up asking, hey, did you have Web3 employers that actually search profiles built in Web3 and decentralized social media?
Well, you know what? There's always going to be a little bit of irony when we're still kind of in a limbo of Web 2 to Web 3, right? So I would say, of course, a vast majority of the talent we end up finding are on more centralized platforms and whatnot. But hopefully, as things grow, we'll continue to leverage more decentralized things. I know that we've kind of been in the works and we've had conversations with some other decentralized protocols. But of course, when we're scaling to the level that we are, we're going to tap into where we see the most talent.
Definitely makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of gems in here, you guys, from the Boolean searches to how you progress into your interview process, noting those big impacts, 0 to 1, your delivery, your organization skills, your tips into applying for a role, the appropriate one. Talk about your interests, what's going to differentiate yourself, all the way into building in your KOPs, right? Your embodiment of what the actual protocol is looking for. And then, of course, utilizing the STAR method. I hope a bunch of you are going to be able to implement that in the future. And then, yeah, boiling down it to volunteer programs where you can get involved prior or during your interview process that could increase the chances of your visibility and notoriety within the project. These are great gems, Myra. Thank you so much for sharing. I want to give an opportunity for anybody else to drop some last minute questions in the chat. We're here to answer.
All right. Yeah, Kev, it was awesome being here once again. I love being involved with all the hackathons and seeing all the cool stuff you guys are building. And I'm really looking to see all these project submittals. What we have about 2 weeks left, 2.5 weeks left.
Yep, we just hit over the halfway marker. We're about 19 days, depending on where you live in the world, but coming up on that deadline here soon.
Well, we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, hey, looks like we have answered all the questions from the community. Any last thoughts, Myra, before we sign off?
No last, I guess maybe. Like I said, if y'all are finding jobs that you're interested in, especially if you were a part of today's workshop, please do not be shy. Reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to connect with each one of you. I know I connected with a lot of y'all during the last hackathon. I really genuinely enjoy it, y'all. I've been a big crypto nerd and blockchain nerd for a long time myself. So anytime I can help anyone in the community out, I'm all for it.
Heck yeah, we greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much, everyone. Happy hacking. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.